Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. Most Browns fans know that the last time the Browns won it all was in 1964, even though they might not have been born yet. Surprisingly, many of those fans don't know who the coach was of the Baltimore Colts, the teams the Browns beat. It was Don Shula, who was born in Grand River, Ohio, near Painesville. Shula died today at the age of 90. He went to John Carroll, and its stadium is named after him. He was drafted in 1951 as a defensive back under the greatest coach of all, Paul Brown. To this day, Shula is the all-time winningest coach in NFL history and a safe distance ahead of Bill Belichick. His 72 Dolphins are still the only undefeated team in the Super Bowl era. I had a wide-ranging interview with him back in 1997. He was still upset that Browns coach Blanton Collier was still throwing the ball with the Colts down 20-0 and less than 5 minutes remaining, even though Jim Brown could have easily run the clock out. Quarterback Frank Ryan of the Browns paid that price with a separated shoulder in the Pro Bowl game a couple of weeks later. You may not remember that he was part of the potential Browns expansion team ownership, along with Larry and Charles Dolan and, believe it or not, Bill Cosby. The voice of the Cleveland Indians, Tom Hamilton, is here. More Sports and Les Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine, it's a Monday night. It's a brand new week. Welcome, everybody, to More Sports and Les Levine into its 24th consecutive year, seen exclusively on cleveland.com. Tom Hamilton, the voice of the Cleveland Indians, is with us. But before that, just want to mention we talked at the opening of the death of Don Shula today. We had a chance to talk to Don not so long ago.
You know, I have a special place. You know, I've been out of, northeast Ohio for a long, long time. I've been in Miami since 1970. But when I come back here, I just feel so at home, not far from Painesville and Grand River, Ohio, where I grew up, and then John Carroll, the school that, gave me all of the background that I have, and then the friends and family that I have here in the Cleveland area. This is going to be a real honor. I'll feel better about the football field than the gym. I spent more time on the football field, but to think that there's going to be a stadium named after you, that's something that people, from here on are always going to be able to remember, and I'm certainly going to remember it. It's a real honor. John Carroll was right for me. It was the right school at the right time, and I graduated in 4 years, and it gave me the necessary preparation for my football career, my athletic career, my spiritual career, and then also, educationally.
Don Shula, I know no other way to lead but by example. Tom Hamilton is with us. Tom, I'll start off the show by apologizing to you. I mentioned that Paul Brown was the greatest of all time, and I forgot about that Vince Lombardi guy that you grew up with. I apologize.
Yeah, I almost hit exit, but what the heck? I'll give it a shot. But no, I mean, you think of it, Les. Paul Brown, Don Shula, and Chuck Noll, all coming from this area.
Yeah.
I mean, that's astounding, really.
It is. It absolutely is. 216-575-0403 is the number to call if you want to talk to Tom, and you can email us during the show at reallesLevine@gmail.com. Tom, we got cut off on our pregame extensive coverage here, our preparation, and I asked you, other than the Rajai-Davis home run call, do you have a favorite call besides that?
Les, it just, I've never looked at it as, do I have a favorite call? I mean, it just seems so self-serving. I think the Rajai-Davis home run is the greatest moment that I've ever been a part of at Progressive Field. I mean, be it Jacobs Field, Progressive Field, I think that's the greatest moment in the history of that ballpark. And you think of the moments that we've had since it opened in '94, but with everything at stake, it's Rajai-Davis. It's not Albert Bell against Aroldis Chapman. It's a guy not noted for home runs against a guy not noted for giving up base hits, much less home runs. And, for it to force extra innings, it's the most, in my mind, enjoyable moment in the history of the ballpark. I wasn't on the mic. Herb was. But boy, I'll tell you what, Les, when Kenny Lofton scored from second in the Kingdom on a pass ball with Randy Johnson standing at home plate, having no idea that Kenny was scoring from second base, that's when you knew the Indians were going
Yeah.
to the 95 World Series.
He
And
he
it
totally
was
fell
such a great moment.
Yeah, he totally fell asleep on that. I mean, he got to home plate to
Yep.
cover the plate as he should, but he never looked at third base where Lofton was coming from, and it was tough. You know, you see that every once in a while, not at a game with that kind of stakes, but plays at
No.
first base when let's say there's a guy on second and there's a close play at first base, and first baseman wants to argue the call. Meanwhile, he's jumping around and some guy's turning around and scoring. You got to be in the game 100% of the time.
Yeah, and I think that's when you were like, I'll be darned, this incredible dream is going to become true. The Indians are going to the World Series. But, the Giambi home run to me was a big moment in the history of our ballpark, even though it came in 2013. It came when you got into the playoffs and you were gone after one game. But that had ended such a long gap of, not having very good baseball. And when he hit that home run, a 2-run homer after the Indians had lost the lead, that was what catapulted the Indians into that 10-game win streak. I don't think if he hits that home run, Les, the Indians go to the playoffs in 2013. And while people may say, well, whatever, you were there one game, that was big for the ball club going forward, which would lead to 3 straight division titles and probably what should have been a 4th playoff appearance last year is just you win 93 games and it wasn't enough.
You know, when you think about it, the Davis home run that tied the game, and then Giambi with the home run, all these things you talk about, and the Indians still don't pull it off and win the whole thing. That just shows you how tough it is to win a World Series.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, you would also like to think, I just, maybe because you've had too much time to reflect right now, but over the last 4 years, the Indians have won the division, obviously, 3 times, and last year won 93 games. So you've had 4 years of, if it wasn't playoff baseball, probably should have been. And yet in all of those years, Les, the club's never been healthy coming down the stretch and going into postseason. That's what's been frustrating, at least from my side of it, is that woulda, coulda, shoulda. What would it have been like to be healthy going into those playoffs in the World Series? That's the beauty of sports. We'll never know. But to your point, you also have to get lucky every once in a while. I think back to 2016, I think we got lucky from the standpoint, Les, the series with Boston began in Cleveland, not Boston. That club was so young, and of course, the situation with the injuries to the pitchers. Had that best of 5 started in Fenway, I don't know that we're talking about a 2016 World Series. So, the Indians have caught some breaks too.
Yeah, well, it's just the greatest game in the world, and they show you how many different ways it can go, especially when you get into a one-game situation. Tom Hamilton is with us. Tom, what are you doing to keep yourself busy? You're going to be listening to the 22 games in a row on WMMS and watch them on Sports Time Ohio?
If my wife will let me.
You know what would be funny? If you were driving somewhere, it starts tonight, right? On WMMS? Okay, 7 o'clock on WMMS, the 22. You don't have to binge watch it. You can watch them one night at a time. But I just wonder if, I'm picturing you driving down and somebody comes up in the situation and you know what happened, but you're still saying, come on, hit it. Come on, do this. Don't walk this guy. And you know what happened.
Yeah, I won't listen, and I probably that's a real good advertisement. Come and don't listen to the game. But I won't watch them either. I mean, you were there, you lived it. I'm not real good. I don't know. Other people may be different. I don't want to hear myself again. Herbie always used to say to me, once it leaves my mouth, it's gone. There's nothing I could do. Why would I want to hear it again? I said it. And the longer I'm around this game, the more I'm thinking like Herbie. And but I don't enjoy listening to myself. So no, I won't be listening or watching. And I hope everybody else does. So please pay our advertisers heed
Yeah.
and shop or whatever when you can. But, it was, what is amazing, no less, about that 22 game streak, and so many things I'd forgotten about it until you started doing, a little research, because we've done a lot of Zoom interviews with players, with Tito, with other coaches. But I mean, some of the stuff that happened, Les, during that 22 game stretch: Chisenhall, Kipnis, Brantley, Tomlin, Salazar, Andrew Miller, all on the disabled list for either all of it or most of it. I mean, Andrew Miller pitched one game in that 22 game stretch. And the pitching staff threw 7 shutouts. They had an ERA of 1.7. I mean, the Indians pitchers gave up 37 runs in that whole 3-week stretch. And so a lot of the games were over early because the club got the lead early, and then they were riding Kluber and Carrasco and Bauer. Ryan Merritt came up, made 2 spot starts and won them both. So there were so many things that when you look back at it, you're like, I didn't remember that. You get so caught up in the next game that a lot of times you don't sit back and reflect. And you think about it again, Les. The club had a 14-game winning streak in 2016, go to Game 7 of a great World Series. And then the next year have a 22-game winning streak. In my mind, it's a Major League record. I'm sorry, the New York Giants had a tie in the middle of theirs. That shouldn't count. But anyway, you think of it.
As that streak was going, and it was near the end of the season, were you thinking, we need a loss here somewhere along the line, and maybe not the last game of the season, maybe with 7 or 8 games, lose one just to get that off your back? But you can't think that way, can you?
No, and you know what, Les, as it went on, once it gets into the teens, to me it takes on a life of its own. We don't see that very often. I mean, you stop and think of it. We talk about, when you have a 4-game series,
sure,
how tough it is to sweep a 4-game series compared to a 3-game series. Now you're talking about going from 13 games over 500 to 35 games over 500 in a 3-week period. So no, once it got into the teens, it was like, dang it, this is fun, because the race was over. But you didn't have those September kind of dog days where you're like, I just want the playoffs to get here. The streak had kind of captured the attention of the country. The Indians were the lead story on everybody's sports show, because it was almost incomprehensible to think of what they were doing. And so, the thing about it is, so many bench guys were playing so much of the time that Tito was not running guys into the ground just to keep the streak going. I mean, they had a doubleheader August 30th in Yankee Stadium, a doubleheader 2 days later in Detroit. And when I was looking back at my scorecards here that I have in front of me, to look at some of those lineups and go, oh my Lord, 4 guys from the minor leagues in the lineup at one time.
Well, ESPN was running some classic games recently, and I just totally forgot. You'd have to twist my arm for a long time to find it. If somebody asked me who was the starting third baseman when Jacobs Field opened, and it's Mark Lewis, but I would have never come up with that, or at least I would have had 8 or 10 other guesses before Mark Lewis.
Yeah, I would have said Jim Toney,
Yeah, right. Well, he didn't want to go with Randy Johnson. Yeah,
right.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Tom Hamilton is with us. We'll talk to him. I did some research on him also. I didn't know he had so many hits with Aerosmith. That's unbelievable. We'll find out what Tom thinks should be done with the baseball season, if anything. We'll do that and more. Did you know the Ohio Lottery has paid out $1 billion in winnings over the past 6 months? People are winning in record numbers, and winning is happening throughout the state of Ohio. Play an Ohio Lottery game and play it today. Tom and I return in a moment. More Sports and Les-levine, seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions, or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Do you like Ohio State football? Would you like to get information from me, Doug Maurice, about Ohio State football without having to look at my face? We have got the plan for you. Become an Ohio State text subscriber through cleveland.com. You send a text, 614-350-3315. What do you get? 2, 3, 4 texts right in your phone every day about Ohio State football. Inside information, polls, voting, all kinds of things. You can be on our podcast. We take text subscriber questions on our Buckeye Talk podcast every week. If you really want to be involved with Ohio State football, in season or out of season, become an Ohio State text subscriber from cleveland.com. Send a text to 614-350-3315. 14-day free trial. What do you have to lose? $3.99 a month after that. 614-350-3315. I'll see you in your phone.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had 2 choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Take a look at birthdays for today. Elmer Layden, born on this date, 1903. Lucy Goosey, 1947. James Harrison, former Cav George Hill. Victor Oladipo, as well as Kevin Porter. I believe this is our first birthday in the year 2000 on the show. 216-575-0403. Tom Hamilton has been the radio voice of the Indians since 1990. Wow. 1990. When did that happen? Goes by quick.
Look in the mirror every day and I know when it happened. So,
first of all, congratulations. Just being nominated as the Ford Frick Award winner of Major League Baseball. What an honor that's got to be. And you're going to just hang in there. You're going to get it.
Oh, thanks. You know what? To your point, it was just an honor. And to be even considered with that group. And just so thrilled for Hawk because he deserves it. He should have been in there, in my mind, years ago. I feel bad for him, like you feel bad for all these kids that are losing out on their senior years of whatever it is, sports, prom, graduations, but the Hall of Fame now has canceled the ceremonies for this year, being pushed back, until next summer. But Hawk was deserving. I'll tell you what, when people are repeating your language, so to speak, and the calls that he came up with, and
put him on the board.
Yeah, exactly. And so, really happy for Hawk. But it was an honor, and you'll love this story, Les. So, the Hall of Fame calls you, and a representative from the Hall of Fame, and tells you that, hey, you've been nominated. You're one of the 8. We will have the votes tallied up on this certain date. Can you please be at your house at that time so we can reach you, if you've won. And, really nice guy and whatnot. I'm, hang up and whatnot. And it's like, well, that day that we had in mind, we were looking for wedding venues for our second oldest son who's getting married, we hope, in July. And I was like, I'm not canceling this. We've got to find a wedding venue. They're not calling me. I'm not going to get the call. So they evidently announced whenever they did on the radio or not. We had gone from one place to another. Hadn't even thought about it, to be honest, Les, because we were so tied up trying to get to see all these wedding venues. And my brother calls me up, one of my 3 brothers, and Robert goes, "Hey, loser, how's it going?" And I go, huh? And he goes, "Oh, you didn't hear? You didn't get in. I told you." So In my family, you better have thick skin.
No, that's not right. It's just not right. Well, congratulations. Just getting there is great, and you're going to go further as time goes on. Maybe you and Omar can go in at the same time. That would be a lot of fun.
There's another guy that should be in.
Yeah. Oh, he will be. He will be. 216-575-0403. All right, we're in uncharted territory here. Ideas are floating out. Some I think they just tossed out just to see what the reaction would be. I don't think they had any idea that some of those things would happen. What do you think? Have any idea of what can be done or should be done, or should they just? I know it's tough because of the money involved to cancel the season, but what do you think is best here?
Well, and I don't have any inside information. I mean, they're talking daily, with the commissioner, the commissioner's office. Everybody is. The owners, they're all trying to come up with some kind of a game plan if we can resume the season. But I think, Les, we all know, you're not going to be able to do anything until we have a quicker way of testing people. Yeah. We're obviously not going to have a vaccine by, say, July, but what you hope is that you have a lot more tests readily available as long as it doesn't impact the general public. What you can't be doing is testing players and not being able to test people outside the playing venue because they don't have any tests. So baseball is not going to be a part of that. So if and when you've got the ability to test all the time, I personally, Les, I think there will be some kind of a season. Now, I can't envision there being a season with fans in the stands. I mean, I just think it's not. If you're going to wait for there to be some clearance for people to be in your ballpark, well, the summer will be gone. To me, it's hard to imagine there even being fans at football games this fall. But getting back to baseball, you've heard all kinds of scenarios. I think in a perfect world, Les, teams would like to be playing in their home parks. And there's a lot of reasons for that. You can be in your own home. You can still be with your family. You can still keep it kind of a cocoon, a small number of people that are allowed in the ballpark and whatnot. I think some of the ideas you've heard about maybe just doing travel within your two divisions, in the Midwest, the AL and NL Central, makes a lot of sense from that standpoint. I just think teams need to be able to get some revenue from being in their home ballpark, even if it's the signage on the outfield walls or the signs behind home plate the center field camera picks up. I think that's the most viable. And I think we're all open-ended on it, Les. I really do think you'll see, I don't know, whether it's 50 games, whether it's 80 games, whether it's 100 games. I think you're going to see it. I think you'll see playoffs probably later in the year, thus in a neutral site. But if you don't have fans, I don't think it matters as long as you can get the playoffs in. What you can't afford to have happen is this start up too soon and then have to stop. You've got to be able to make sure when you go forward, you can go forward to some kind of a conclusion, whatever it might be. And I think, Les, we'll see a lot of ideas thrown out there about how the game is played too.
This isn't a
just because of the times.
This isn't a political statement, but I think from a morale standpoint, whether it's 50 games or 60 games, even though that's not a legitimate season, I think we need it. I think we need it just to see guys play ball. I said something a week or two ago that it would be ironic if the Indians win the World Series and all the games were outside of Cleveland, that Cesar Hernandez will never step foot in the city of Cleveland.
Hadn't thought of that one.
It's possible. Anything's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, like, who would believe a guy would come in a trade for a two-time Cy Young Award winner and then get an 80-game suspension? That's not real, is it? That didn't happen, did it?
Oh, my Lord, And, I mean, you're right, though. I mean, I think Hernandez will play for us long-term. But how about Mookie Betts with the Dodgers? You think about what the Reds have done, Les, with all the free agents to be and the trades they've made to acquire to go all in for this year. And maybe some of those guys never play in Cincinnati. It truly is a shame.
216-575-0403. The Indians made a statement. They said all the right things about Clase. Corey Kluber, how much, there you see what the Indians said about Clase last week. Corey Kluber, did you expect that to happen? Did you expect a trade at that point?
I don't know if I expected a trade, but I sure wasn't surprised by it. I think financially the Indians had to try to get their payroll a little more in a balanced scenario. We were so top heavy with the money that was being paid out to pitching, and maybe a couple of everyday players. So, I wasn't surprised by it, Les. I don't think any of us knew what the market would bear for Corey Kluber. I don't know that a lot of people were offering a whole lot for Corey, even with what he has done. And I think part of it is his age, Les. He's 34 years old.
Right.
This guy has had a lot of innings and a lot of high leverage innings when you're in the playoffs as much as the Indians were. They didn't abuse Corey, but that's just part of being in the playoffs. You pitch a lot deeper into the season than other teams. And so, the disappointment is Clase. It's like, you know what? I am so sick and tired of these guys failing tests and taking these chances. And it's like, how dumb do you have to be? And, that's probably not what the club wants me to say. But I just, they can't come out and say it, but I'm tired of it. The Minnesota Twins, won the division title last year, and, they used Pineda for how much of that year, and their shortstop had been busted 2 years before that, and you can go on, and it's like, I guess that's the society we live in. I mean, you see it now with social distancing. There are always some people that aren't going to follow the rules with social distancing or with anything else in life. The rules are always meant for certain people, but certain people feel like the rules weren't meant for them. And so it's a huge loss, Les. Make no bones about it, because they were counting on him big time. But, I have no sympathy for any player that gets busted now, because to me it's like, well, you're an idiot.
Well, Clase didn't say this that I know of, but how about these guys who say, I didn't know what I was putting in my body? These guys, their body is a temple, a shrine. They know what they're putting in.
Oh my God, that's, I would have so much more respect for somebody who said, hey, I got injured and I was trying to speed up the healing process, and I knew what I was doing and it was wrong. But to your point, it's like, my pet dog, I didn't realize he was so good with a hypodermic needle. Before I knew it, he shot me up, and it's like, okay. So, yeah, I'm with you. I have yet to see anybody claim that they didn't do wrong and they're fighting it. You never hear from them again.
No, you don't hear from them. No, you don't. 216-575-0403. Speaking of scandals and stuff like that, when we get back, I want to talk Houston Astros and Boston Red Sox. Can we do that?
Sure. Yeah, talking about cheaters. Let's line them up.
All cheaters, go to the left. Non-cheaters to the right. Where are you going? Back in a moment. East, west, and south, that's where you're going to find Northeast Factory Direct. Alex is going to match any order. If you buy something from him and the next year you found out that you had to pay more somewhere, if you pay less somewhere else, he'll refund the money immediately. That's what he does at Northeast Factory Direct. We'll come on back in a moment. More Sports and Les-levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Celebrate Naturestone's 30-year anniversary with a free Naturestone floor. During 2020, we will be giving away 30 free floors to 30 very lucky customers to say thank you for making Naturestone the best concrete flooring solution for garages, basements, and more. Call or visit naturestone.com today to register to win, and we'll send you a copy of our new buyer's guide absolutely free. There's no purchase necessary. Winners will be chosen monthly. With over 30 million square feet installed for more than 60,000 customers, it's easy to see why I always say it's not just a floor. Wow, it's Naturestone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Time for a How Come Quickie. How come on normal years, how come most of spring training actually takes place in the winter? We got to change that, winter training or something like that. Tom Hamilton is with us, the voice of summer, voice of the Cleveland Indians. What are you laughing
Voice of winter, evidently.
Well, how about the March Madness? The main part of it is in April, and more importantly, from your vantage point at Progressive Field, you can tell this better than anybody. Most of the home run porch is in foul territory.
We don't tell the sponsor that, Les.
No. He'll want half price probably. 216-575-0403 is the number. About 100 years ago, my first year in broadcasting, I'm doing a high school game in Indiana, and I had so-and-so scoring 35 points, including 8 in double overtime, and I read the morning paper the next day, and it's Fred Jones has 35 points, including 8 in double overtime. Ever any goofs in your back in the day that you can admit to that didn't cost advertisers and you your job?
I did the same thing in a high school state tournament game. Appleton Xavier. I was working in Appleton, and they played Stevens Point Pacelli in the state tournament down at the Milwaukee Arena where the Bucks play. And you learn by your mistakes. I did not go to the official scorers table, check my roster with the official lineup.
It's exactly the same thing.
I had the wrong guy having a great game.
Yeah, that's the exact same thing. And when I hear younger guys getting into the business, thinking they should start at the major markets, no, they got to go to Jasper, Indiana, and get the wrong guy scoring 35 points, I think.
Or you go to Shell Lake, Wisconsin, and live in the cellar of the owner of the radio station's mother's home. That was inspiring. So
that's a dangerous place to be, I would think.
She'd open that door and throw down a bowl of milk every morning. I knew it was time to get up. So
that is funny. Tom Hamilton is with us, and we're going to start tonight. 22-game winning streak for the Indians. Back in what year was that? Now that was what? 17? 17?
Yeah.
How soon they forget. Let's go to Dan. Dan's in Hubbard. We haven't heard from him in a while. Hi, Dan. Dan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. You got me?
Yeah, go ahead.
How you doing tonight, Les?
Good, Dan.
Good. Mr. Hamilton, never got to speak to you before. It's nice to talk to you. I have a
question
you, Dan. Regarding, I do want to tell you, I like your quote about being stupid with these kids and these drugs. Thought of a quote that John Wayne said, life's tough, it's even tougher when you're stupid. What do you think the Shields route?
I'm going to live to regret this.
What, the show?
Yeah. The line of the Shields. What do
my big mouth.
Welcome to my world. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, no, I can't hear you. It's getting cut in and out.
Well, you ask the question. Tom and I will answer it, and then we'll throw you off.
Okay. I said, what do you think the line of the Shields role will be in the outfit?
Okay.
Do you think he'll contribute?
Delino DeShield. Thanks, Dan. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Well, again, we were kind of getting to that point in spring training, Les, where first off, your regulars were going to be playing regularly and deeper into games. So we were trying to get kind of a read on how good is Franmil Reyes in the outfield, about Domingo Santana. To me, Delino DeShields was going to be more of a late inning guy, and I think he would have been used a lot defensively, because I think what you would see a lot of times is, both guys in the lineup, Santana and Reyes, but one in the outfield and one as a DH. So I think he might have seen a lot of time that way. The one thing about Tito is he's very good, though, if you're not an everyday player, of making sure you're playing,
Yeah.
so that when you do play, you're impactful. I think we've seen that with Mike Freeman and how he's used his bench in the past, that just because you're a bench guy doesn't mean you're not going to play. I didn't see Delino DeShields being an everyday player, but certainly a guy that'd be a spare part in the outfield.
Have you been watching the Michael Jordan miniseries?
Oh, wow.
It's fascinating stuff.
What is fun, Les, is like one of my sons that I was telling, well, both sons for that matter, they, one wasn't born and one probably wasn't old enough to remember how good, and I think all of us have forgotten how good Michael Jordan was, and his competitiveness sets him apart. And Tito has told me, I'll go into Tito countless times and have him tell me another Michael Jordan story, because he managed him in Birmingham.
Right.
Think of a young Terry Francona, managing Michael Jordan. And he's got great stories about Jordan, and we've seen them come out. I don't know about you, Les. I think it's one of the most entertaining behind the scenes things I've ever seen. It's what Hard Knocks hopes to get every summer.
Yeah.
This is Hard Knocks on steroids.
Right. The language is one thing, but calling out Isaiah Thomas and then everybody's calling him out. You don't see that. I think I knew that about Jordan, but I thought after 30 years it might have eased up a little bit, but apparently not.
I don't know if you get a second chance with Michael, do you? It kind of.
No, you don't.
You know what I loved about that too, Les? And we've heard this. I don't know Isaiah Thomas, obviously a great player, but then it's kind of like he's coming out after all of this comes out, and it's damage control. And it was suddenly he's telling us it was Bill Lambert's idea.
Right.
And, Boston did it to us. And Bill Lambert's going, I don't give a hoot what anybody thinks. Did it then, I'd do it again. I don't care who cares about it, who likes it, doesn't. At least he's a man of conviction.
Right. 216-575-0403. You can explore your interests and find a program that meets your needs and a path to a bright future from Tri-C. Tri-C offers more than 1,000 courses and over 140 career and technical programs. Go to tri-c.edu for more information. Tom Hamilton returns in a moment. More Sports and Les-levine exclusively on cleveland.com.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
Well, hello, everyone. Let me tell you a little bit about Browns Football Insider. For only $3.99 a month, you can get texts sent right to your phone each day from me, Dan Lobby, Scott Pasco, and Ellis Williams. In addition to that, you'll receive a Football Insider newsletter every day with special things from us, things that you won't see anywhere else on the site. You'll get breaking news, analysis, features, film breakdown, and things like that. Texting us directly gives you a great chance to cut through the clutter of Facebook, Twitter, other social media, and avoid the trolls. Also, it's the only way to get your questions on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. So why should you sign up? Try a 14-day free trial. You can cancel at any time. All it takes is one text, but you won't want to cancel. We have hundreds of subscribers join us over the last year. They love it and have stayed with us. We're seeing the Football Insider community grow every week. And it's only $3.99 a month, which is less than 14 cents a day. What I like most about Football Insider is the opportunity to connect with you one-on-one and really communicate with you. So how can you become a Football Insider? You can click on cleveland.com/Browns, the blue banner at the top of the page. Or easier yet, text me at 216-208-3965. Again, that's 216-208-3965. It
takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant, whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
Let's check out this date in sports history. Indians pitcher Addie Joss throws his second no-hitter at the age of 30. This was in 1910. He died 1 year later, and at the age of 31. His record was 160 and 97 with an ERA of 1.89. Tom, that's pretty good numbers there.
Yeah, I mean, it's astounding when you see some of those guys from back then, and even Bob Feller, and those numbers. I mean, and you know what? Even for that matter, Les, when you start looking at some of the numbers that guys put up in the '60s, the great players that were playing every year, Hank Aaron, Roberto Clemente, Willie Mays. I mean, Warren Spahn. I mean, you can go on and on. Juan Marichal, Bob Gibson. Every era has astounding numbers, and that's why I don't think you can ever compare players. Players are probably much more athletic and gifted nowadays, but when you were good, didn't matter what era you were in, you were good.
All right, I got the Bob Feller numbers versus Addie Joss. You ready for this? Addie Joss, 160 and 97, 623 percentage. Bob Feller, 266 and 162, 621 percentage. Now, I want you to go to Bob and you tell him, Bob, you weren't the number one pitcher, not even on the Indians. I miss that guy.
Doesn't never. The best part of Bob, among all the things, his memory and how accurate he was, his love of the game.
Yeah.
He wasn't bitter because he played in a different era and didn't make what they make today. I mean, who could afford Bob Feller right now?
No.
Two teams probably.
Yeah.
But his complete love of the game never dimmed, and he was always at the ballpark. Unless he was as excited when the Indians were winning in recent years as he was when he played.
Yeah.
I just thought, how cool is that to have somebody that still winning in the organization and the city meant that much to him. He never was bitter about anything.
I'm going to tell you this story lovingly, okay? Back in the day when I had dark hair and playing sandlot ball here, and I'm taking ground balls before the game. It's Gordon Park. It's a 7 o'clock game, a 7:30 game. We have the field from 7 to 7:15. The other team has it 7:15 to 7:30. Something flies by me, and I look over, and it's a baseball bat. And I'm second base, and I look up. Bob was coaching at the time, and he had two sons who played. And here's Bob Feller at the on-deck circle with the bag of bats, and he's throwing them out to every position and say, "It's 7:16. Get off the whatever field." True story, absolute true story. And I'm saying, oh, we're going to play. If we play well, Mr. Feller's going to tell the Indians about us. Let's say hi to Bill, who's in North Olmsted. Bill, you're on with Tom Hamilton. Go ahead.
Well, Tom, I got to tell you, my favorite Tom Hamilton broadcast happened back in 2008. I've been a season ticket holder for almost 30 years, been to the last 38 spring trainings, over half of which have been with your mailman, by the way. But anyhow, in July of 2008, you were announcing a game where White Sox were playing the Indians, and a pitcher by the name of Adam Russell came in and got his first win that day.
That's Bill's son.
Bill's son. Your comment was, and here comes the pride of North Olmsted. And I was listening to the game because it was in Chicago. And lo and behold, he got the win that day, and then wound up getting the second win, major league win, very next day.
You got it on tape, Bill? You got it on tape?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, we're running really late, Bill. We got to move on. Call earlier next time.
Congratulations. That Adam was a heck of a pitcher, and I don't think there's anything better, Les and Bill, than when somebody locally makes it, whether it's for the Indians or the other team. I mean, because you can envision how that mom and dad feel.
Yeah.
And, I think it's neat when we get these kids from Northeast Ohio. We've got Eric Lauer, who went to Midview High School from Elyria,
You got
pitching now in the big leagues.
You got Longo, who's in the system, right?
Yeah, Mitch Longo
Longo.
from
Baker
Mayfield
Heights.
Heights is in the system. Yeah.
Well, it was 12 years ago, Tom, and I can hear it still today. It rings well.
Well, congratulations, Bill.
All right,
Thank
Bill.
you.
Bill, thank you so much. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. East, West, and South, that's Northeast Factory Direct. Alex has been doing it for 20 years, started out in a garage in Lakewood. Look what it's turned into, 3 great, huge showrooms. He pays about 10% what the big boys pay, and he's going to pass the savings on to you. Mike and Bernie Sokolowski, like everybody else, trying to get through this situation, and they can't wait to get the word that they can go back to business and serving that great food, which allowed them to win the James Beard Foundation Award. Only 5 in the country win it each and every year. We're going to come back in a moment with Tom Hamilton. We'll look at our Facebook response and more sports and Les-Levine exclusively on cleveland.com.
Celebrate Nature Stone's 30-year anniversary with a free Nature Stone floor. During 2020, we will be giving away 30 free floors to 30 very lucky customers to say thank you for making Nature Stone the best concrete flooring solution for garages, basements, and more. Call or visit naturestone.com today to register to win, and we'll send you a copy of our new buyer's guide absolutely free. There's no purchase necessary. Winners will be chosen monthly. With over 30 million square feet installed for more than 60,000 customers, it's easy to see why I always say it's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Let's look at this date in Les-Levine sports history. May 4th, 1997. Les did a remote broadcast from Shula's Steakhouse on Rockside, and the coach said that he was not interested in getting back into the game. A week later, he was introduced as part of an ownership group to buy the Browns with Larry and Charles Dolan, as well as Bill Cosby. You know what Bill Cosby did, Bill or Tom? Well, no, that's a bad question, but you know what Bill Cosby did. So let's strike that from the record. Okay. No, you didn't. You weren't aware of that? He was that group was one of 3 that Al Lerner and Bart Wallstein and that group, and we
I guess I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, we interviewed them. We were doing the show on Cablevision at the time, so we had the in with Mr. Dolan, and we get in and we're waiting for the cameras to set up, and it took a few extra minutes, and something came up, and I said something that I wish I could remember it because I was told it was very funny, and Cosby comes up to me and he pounds me on the chest and he says, "I'll do the jokes around here, young man." And he was serious as could
Wow.
be. Yeah. I guess, yeah.
Have you reached out to Bill lately?
He's only allowed 1 phone call. We have no. We have a Facebook question of the day. We said if you could find it, if you could get anybody a free agent at this point, which I don't see anybody doing, but who would you like to see? Lee Sutley says any major league outfielder. Andy Meese says no free agents right now with all the pitching and rotational depth the Indians have in the minors. There's no need to bring up a washed-up veteran. Glenn Berger says an experienced setup man with Clase gone for 80 days and Karinchak still an unproven relief pitcher. Ted Moon says I'd love to see Ben Zobrist in an Indians uniform, but don't know if the resigning or otherwise signing status he could give Mr. Hamilton plenty of opportunities to add to his repertoire of incredible home run calls. How about Yasiel Puig? What about Yasiel Puig?
Boy, how about his timing, Les? You know, you're a free agent. The market was iffy as it was.
Right.
And now, I mean, stop and think, anybody that hasn't signed a contract that still hopes to play this year with a team, you're not going to get a whole lot of money to sign with, I don't care who it is.
No.
Because catastrophic losses, Les, for every team in baseball. And so, you know, timing's everything in life. If you're a free agent, it couldn't be worse.
No question about it. And of course, it's so meaningless in the whole scheme of things. When you think about somebody called and said, what about Lindor? I said, right now, Lindor is not on top of mind as far as I'm concerned. So anyway.
Yeah, you know, and I think, Les, you know, this has got long-term repercussions, you know. I mean, who knows how this impacts next season? Who knows how this impacts, you know, the players and the owners have to come to an agreement on a new collective bargaining agreement at the end of the 2021 season. You know, I'll bet right now, Les, the NFL players, and there were how many complaining, and that was a close vote, are darn glad they accepted the 10-year agreement that they got from NFL ownership, and they're not dealing with this right now.
No question about that. We have the voicemail of Truth and Reason. You can call it anytime. We do the show live from 6 until 7 p.m. That's Eastern time, but any other time, any of the other 23 hours or the weekends, you can call and leave a message. 216-200-6650. When we get back, I want to ask Tom a question about radio on, or baseball on radio, baseball on TV, and some changes we've seen over the years and what we expect to see in the future. More Sports and Les-levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Celebrate NatureStone's 30-year anniversary with a free NatureStone floor. During 2020, we will be giving away 30 free floors to 30 very lucky customers to say thank you for making NatureStone the best concrete flooring solution for garages, basements, and more. Call or visit naturestone.com today to register to win, and we'll send you a copy of our new buyer's guide absolutely free. There's no purchase necessary. Winners will be chosen monthly. With over 30 million square feet installed for more than 60,000 customers, it's easy to see why I always say it's not just a floor. Wow, it's NatureStone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Tomorrow night, Bud Shaw checks in, and you can find him at budshaw.com. No, at Bud Shaw. The D-Man, Dennis Maniloff, will be here on Wednesday. So thankful to Tom Hamilton for... Oh, wait a minute. What am I thankful for? What else did you have to do?
Exactly. I'm not vacuuming tonight, thanks to you. So thank you. I'll come on every night.
Well, that has to do with ratings. It's if you're doing your vacuuming, that's sweeps week. The broadcasting game, to me, baseball and radio is the greatest combination. It's the best radio game. It's you can picture it without having to keep your eyes glued to it. Television has added some stuff, Tom, and I'll be honest with you. I'd like to think I know a little bit about the game. There's sometimes I can't follow. There's so much stuff on the screen. I have trouble following it, to be honest with you. But radio is still the same basically as it has been for 100 years. Well, not 100, but
yeah, I would agree, Les. we've added some things here and there, but for the most part, you know, I think we're lucky that we're not maybe a prisoner to that camera sometimes, and all of the other elements it can bring in, and I'm sure a lot of them are really good. I just think with radio, you also don't have the time to explain all of that because you're literally describing what is going on.
Right.
Whereas in television, you don't have to say, here's the windup, here's the pitch. I mean, the camera is showing you all of that. I know analytics is certainly getting more and more into the broadcasts, and, you know, you don't want to be a dinosaur and ignore them, but I think we also have to be careful. You can inundate people with so many numbers that after a while it doesn't mean anything, and people still want to know what your batting average is, your home runs, your RBIs. There are still some basics that people really grasp too. Plus, they'd like to know what the score is.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know that if a guy hits 300 and has 30 home runs and 100 RBIs, that's a pretty good year. I'm waiting for them to come out after checking Babe Ruth's stats over the years and say, you know, this is George Herman, Babe Ruth. He wasn't that good. His launch angle was horrible.
And you know what, Les? Somebody probably will. I mean, the analytics people are the people that are saying Omar-Vizquel is not a Hall of Fame shortstop. And it's like, you know, sometimes the good Lord gave you two of these for a reason. Watch and learn, or watch and observe. If you don't think Omar-Vizquel, along with Ozzie Smith, are the two best defensive shortstops to ever play the game, then you haven't watched much baseball. And when Buddy Bell says Omar-Vizquel is the best he's ever seen, it's good enough for me. I don't care what anybody else says. That's good enough for me.
I totally agree. And remember quite well when Omar made 3 errors in a game. That wasn't an opening game, but it was the first week, I think.
It was early in his first season with us because it was still a chilly April day,
right?
And he was fighting a cloudless sky with the sun, and he stood there and answered every one of those. I don't know, did Omar have 3 errors the rest of the year?
Probably not.
So, and you know, the other thing about Omar too, Les, his offensive numbers, and I love when people say, well, he was a compiler. Well, everybody in the Hall of Fame was a compiler.
You got to be pretty good to you got to be pretty good to compile, I think.
Yep, exactly.
You know, nothing. Well, Tom, number one, I appreciate you taking the time to join us, and can't wait to hear you. I'll hear you tonight, but that's not when I want to really hear you. I want to hear you real soon. Whether the games are in Arizona, whatever they are, or Progressive Field, got to have baseball back, but we got to do it right.
Yes, I agree, Les. Thanks for having me. Now I got to put my apron on and go dust since my wife did the vacuuming. Flip-flop today. It's a pretty big day at our house.
Could you just turn the camera around just so we can see the dress you'll be wearing?
I can't get up out of this chair.
Tom Hamilton is as good as there is, and not just currently, but forever. He's tremendous. And you know what? I didn't even mention this, and I've told you this a million times. When I enjoy you all the time. But when the Indians are getting their whatever handed to them in about the 7th inning of a game, or 6th, the earlier the better when they're getting hammered, listening to you is a treasure in broadcasting.
Well, thank you. Those are also the nights I get a text from my wife. Careful. So
I got to go. All right, Tom Hamilton,
Thanks,
you can
Les.
hear him on, hear him on WMMS and Sports Time Ohio over the next 22 days, take you up until Memorial Day. All right, tomorrow night, of course, it'll be Bud Shaw, then the D-Man Dennis Maniloff on Wednesday. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.